ATA calls on government to extend the instant asset write-off, Deloitte's Sant has provided an insight into the policy as well as the investment allowance, giving us a deeper understanding of how they both work.
G'day everyone, Chris from Deloitte here again. Today I'll be speaking about the instant asset write-off and the investment allowance, also known as the backing business investment. These policies were expanded or introduced in response to COVID-19 and have been the focus of many queries received by the Australian Trucking Association since my last video. Today I'll be looking to provide some further information on each, but please seek advice when seeking to rely on these concessions. The instant asset write-off has been around for many years, but was expanded on the 12th of March 2020 in response to COVID-19. The concession allows businesses to immediately deduct the full value of certain assets in the current income tax year. The changes to the concession were as follows. The threshold for an individual asset was increased from 30 to 150,000, and the concession was expanded to include businesses with an aggregated turnover of up to 500 million, up from the previous threshold of 50 million. If you're looking to take advantage of this concession, you must act fast, as the asset must be used or installed before the 30th of June 2020. There are several key aspects of the instant asset write-off. Firstly, the asset can either be new or second-hand. Secondly, the concession applies on a per asset basis, meaning a company can take advantage of the concession multiple times. Thirdly, the asset must be first used or installed between 12th March and 30th of June 2020. If there is a lead time on the delivery or installation requirements, it may be too late to take advantage of the concession. Finally, for assets purchased during the income tax year, but before the 12th of March 2020, please remember that you may still be able to obtain the instant asset write-off, which allow businesses with turnover up to 50 million a threshold of $30,000. As a quick example, a business with a turnover of 30 million purchases a trailer for 120,000 and it's delivered on the 5th of June 2020. The business can claim an immediate tax deduction of 120,000 for the 2019-2020 income tax year. If the asset was delivered in January 2020 and not in June 2020, the instant asset write-off would not apply, as the asset would have exceeded the $30,000 threshold. The investment allowance, or the backing business investment, is a broader scheme and applies until 30 June 2021. The rules are quite complicated, with some of the key aspects of the investment allowance being: 1. It applies to businesses with an aggregated turnover of less than 500 million and provides, for businesses with a turnover of less than 10 million, a 57.5% deduction in the current year. For businesses with a turnover of over 10 million and less than the limit, a 50% deduction is available in the current year. 2. The asset must be used or installed between the 12th of March 2020 and 30 June 2021. 3. It must be new and not previously held by the entity. This differs from the instant asset write-off, which applies to new or second-hand assets. 4. Not be an asset to which the entity has applied the instant asset write-off or depreciation deductions. 5. It doesn't apply to certain assets, such as capital works, assets you were committed to acquiring before the 12th of March 2020. In fact, the list is quite long. Finally, and again, there is no limit on the number of assets you can apply the accelerated depreciation rules provided by the investment allowance. Tax advice should be sought before making any material purchases in anticipation of these measures to ensure that the proposed acquisition qualifies. And advice should also be obtained for all assets used or installed after the 12th of March 2020 before completing your income tax return for 2020. When completing your return, please make sure you consider all assets purchased during the financial year 2020, given that either the instant asset write-off or the investment allowance may apply, and the rules will vary depending on the relevant dates of acquisition or installation. The key takeaways are: the investment allowance will immediately assist businesses with higher valued assets and post 30 June 2020. It will also seek to help stimulate the economy during financial year 2021, whereas the instant asset write-off provides a greater benefit but applies to lower valued assets and closes on the 30th of June 2020. Finally, Deloitte would like to thank the transport sector again for their efforts during COVID and have a safe long weekend on our roads.
Authorised by Ben Maguire for the Australian Trucking Association, Canberra.